Hi guys, Matt Easton, Scholar Gladiatoria here. So as you can see, I'm back in my old venue. It's starting to get a little bit cold, less cold outside, so I'm venturing outside a bit more, which is good news because I've got more space to move around here. So a question that's come up a number of times since I started doing my video channel is the question of quarterstaff compared to sword. Now, the very sort of basic rudimentary facts that people often stumble across is that the quarterstaff was considered by some historical writers to be superior to the sword. Now let's just analyse why that should be for a second. Firstly, it really all comes down to reach. Okay, it's much the same as I always tell people that the spear is a superior weapon to a sword. For the same reason, for reach. It means that because of superior leverage, you can attack someone's face and their foot with only very little movement at the back end of the weapon. You can move the tip of your weapon around basically the whole height of a person's body. Whereas with a sword, to do that, yes, you can attack high, attack low, but it requires a bigger movement from your body to do so. And therefore your opponent has more time essentially to react to it. Generally speaking, in swordsmanship, when you attack someone's legs, you leave yourself a little bit vulnerable in doing so. And in actual fact, if you want to hit someone in the legs, there's very specific moments in a fight where it becomes safe to do it because of the nature of what's going on. For example, if I feint high and the person's weapon is drawn high, it might be safe in that exact moment to hit the person in the leg and then cover my head again as I come out, because of course the next thing they're going to do is trying to hit me in the head, because just because I've cut them in the leg doesn't mean they're going to collapse, or doesn't mean they're going to die instantly or anything like that. It's not like a sort of magic death spell. I will have wounded them in the leg, but they won't be immediately in that second incapacitated. However, with a pole weapon, you can hit someone in the leg very quickly and have your weapon come back up again to defend yourself. So very simply, there was a statement made in the 17th century. There's a sort of apocryphal tale about an English staff man fighting 3 Spaniards using rapiers, and there's this sort of apocryphal kind of statement that one man with a staff can hold off 3 men with swords. Is that true? Possibly. I would say yes, a good staff man could probably hold off 3 novice swordsmen. However, against 3 good swordsmen, I think the staff man has a lot of problems that he has to overcome. The fundamental problem in my mind with the staff, okay, there are 2 that I'm going to focus on. There are other issues, but I'll focus on 2. 2 issues with the staff compared to the sword. Firstly, you don't have really any hand protection, and you've got 2 hands on the weapon. Now, this doesn't have to be a big problem. With an experienced staff person, you have got the superior reach, so you can hit someone, and if they try and hit you in the hand or snipe at your hand, you can just slip the hand out of the way, either by moving the entire weapon, or by blocking the incoming blow, or hitting the incoming arm, or indeed just by moving the lead hand. They're not going to, generally speaking, be aiming at the backhand, they'll be aiming at the lead hand. So if someone does deliberately hit at your hand, you can essentially move the whole thing away, or just move the hand. Okay. So that's the first thing. The first thing is that the hands are vulnerable, whereas with a sword, obviously with a basket-hilted sword, the hand is very well protected. Obviously with a medieval sword, with a simple crossguard, the hands are less protected, but they're still better protected than they are on a spear or a staff. But the bigger issue to my mind with the staff, and a lot of people who are fans of the quarterstaff will dispute this, I know, and will argue with me, is that, to my thinking, the staff doesn't do an awful lot of damage. Now, the immediate response that people always come up with is, oh well, if I swing a 6 foot or 7 foot heavy lump of oak at your head, it'll knock you down, you'll be dead or unconscious. Yes, that's true if you hit me in the head. Okay. However, you can hit someone with a stick pretty much anywhere else in the body, and if you're lucky, you might break a bone. but you're not going to, even if you break a bone, you're probably not going to incapacitate the opponent. And you're certainly not going to cause massive external bleeding like a sword would do, or indeed like an axe, and in some cases certain types of mace, flanged mace, would cause laceration as well. And yes, you can use a heavier staff. That's the other argument that the staff people will always say, is they go, oh well, I use a 7-foot really thick oak shaft and oak staff, and it has iron shod at both ends. So yeah, that's great, that will definitely hit with more force than a rattan pole like this. However, it will also be slower. And the problem therefore is if you make the staff so heavy that it can hit with a huge amount of force, like a pole axe, then you're essentially making it so slow that it loses one of its principal advantages. One of the main advantages of the staff is that it can move high or low or anywhere around really, really quickly. Okay, quicker than a sword in most cases. If you make it slower than a sword, then it's no longer very good against swords anymore, because now the sword has a speed advantage. So if you take an average weight staff, and I should state that this is lighter than average, this is rattan and this is used for training purposes because of course being lighter it's safer to use. But if you take an average ash pole that would have been used as a quarterstaff, or indeed a narrowish oak quarterstaff, then they will hurt you a lot, but they don't incapacitate very well. The simple fact is that even a relatively light hit with a sword, anywhere on the body, on your fingers, on your thigh, on your calf, obviously on your neck or head, even parts of your torso, just the slightest poke with the point will penetrate your body and cause both external and internal bleeding. You're basically screwed if you get hit properly with the edge or the point anywhere on your body with a sword. That is not true of a staff, and quite simply, if you have a sword and you're fighting a staff man, you could, and I'm not recommending that you do this as a tactic, but let's just say that the staff man is essentially a better fencer than you. You could literally lure them into hitting at your head, and as they take a walloping great strike at your head, stick your arm up in the way. Yes, your arm might get broken, but that's the worst that's going to happen. Stick your arm in the way as you close in and run your sword right the way through their chest, and that's staff man dead. Okay? So this is, to my thinking, the problem with the staff, is that people tend to then go, oh well, what we'll do now is we'll do some sparring, so we'll put on some sparring gear. One person will have a rattan staff and the other people will have some safe practice swords, and what will be demonstrated is that the person with the staff can tap the swordsman all around, moving all around, and can keep 3 swordsmen at bay whilst tapping them or potentially even bruising them with the staff. But you know what? The practice staff is very similar to a real staff. The practice sword is not very close to a real sword, because a real sword is sharp, and that's where the big difference lies. Is that in sparring, the staff person is, yes, I'm tapping my opponents, but what does that signify? I'm hitting them with a stick. And the very simple fact is that swords and axes and other bladed weapons were invented because they are a far more efficient way of wounding, incapacitating and killing an opponent than a stick is. So there we go. In short, yes, the quarterstaff is a great weapon, it's a stick. But it doesn't do as much damage with a hit as a sword does, and that's where the problem lies. Because the swordsman, if he has some pluck and daring, can close distance with that staff person. And yes, there are techniques that the staff person can do. If someone comes within my weapon and closes in, yes, I can use the butt end, yes, I can push them away, yes, I could even kick them or punch them or headbutt them or anything else. There are techniques I can do, but the fundamental fact is that I am holding a stick and they are holding a really sharp piece of steel, which with very little pressure is going to open me up. Okay. So I am actually going to do another little video straight following this one up. I'll publish them on different days, talking again about the staff and the sword. Cheers guys!